Socrates once said something that sounds simple, but is deeply unsettling. The only true wisdom is knowing that you know nothing. At first, it sounds humble, almost harmless, but the more you think about it, the more uncomfortable it becomes. Because if Socrates was right, then most people aren't wise at all. In a world obsessed with being right, being loud and being certain, Socrates chose something radical. He chose questions. That choice would make him famous, and eventually, it would get him killed. Who was Socrates? Socrates lived in ancient Athens over 2,400 years ago, at the height of Greek civilization. Athens was powerful, educated, confident in its democracy. And Socrates stood right in the middle of it, questioning everything. He wrote no books. He left no essays, no journals, no manifestos. Everything we know about him comes from others, especially his student, Plato. Socrates walked barefoot through the streets of Athens. He dressed simply. He owned almost nothing. He wasn't interested in wealth, or status, or political power. But he had something far more dangerous than money or weapons. He had a mind that refused to accept lies, especially comfortable ones. And Athens was built on comfortable lies. The oracle's prophecy. One day, a close friend of Socrates traveled to the Oracle of Delphi, the most respected source of wisdom in the Greek world. People believed the oracle spoke for the gods themselves. His friend asked a simple question: "Is anyone wiser than Socrates?" The oracle answered, "No one is wiser." When Socrates heard this, he was genuinely disturbed.
I am not wise. I know nothing.
This wasn't false modesty. Socrates truly believed it. So instead of celebrating the prophecy, he decided to test it. If the oracle was right, he needed to understand why. The Socratic method begins. Socrates began speaking to the most respected people in Athens: politicians, poets, teachers, military leaders, public thinkers. He didn't insult them. He didn't attack them. He simply asked questions.
What is justice? What is courage? What is virtue? What makes a good life?
At first, they answered confidently. But Socrates didn't stop there. He asked follow-up questions, then more questions, then deeper questions. Slowly, something uncomfortable happened. Their answers collapsed. They contradicted themselves. They grew defensive. They became angry. Because for the first time, they realized something terrifying. They didn't actually know what they claimed to know. The meaning of wisdom. That's when Socrates understood the oracle's message. He wasn't wise because he had answers. He was wise because he knew the limits of his knowledge. Others believed they were wise and weren't. Socrates knew he was ignorant, and that made all the difference. This kind of humility was rare and dangerous, because once people admit they don't know, they start questioning everything: authority, tradition, power. Why Athens turned against him. Athens was a democracy, but it was also deeply proud. Socrates didn't flatter the people. He challenged them. He exposed false confidence in public. He embarrassed powerful men with their own words. He taught young people how to think, not what to think. And the youth loved him for it. They watched leaders stumble. They laughed as certainty crumbled. To the powerful, Socrates wasn't a philosopher. He was a threat. Resentment turned into fear. Fear turned into accusation. And eventually, Athens decided he had to be stopped. The trial of Socrates. Socrates was formally charged with 2 crimes. 1. Corrupting the youth. 2. Not believing in the gods of Athens. But everyone knew the truth. His real crime was this: he made people uncomfortable with themselves. During the trial, Socrates could have saved his life. He could have begged. He could have apologized. He could have promised to stay quiet. He refused. He spoke calmly, logically, without fear, and in doing so, he sealed his fate. A choice between life and integrity. The court offered him a deal. Admit guilt. Stop teaching. Live quietly. Socrates said no. He told the judges, "An unexamined life is not worth living." To him, living without truth was worse than death. He would rather die honestly than live pretending. The death sentence Socrates was sentenced to death by drinking hemlock, a poison. While waiting in prison, his friends begged him to escape. They had bribed the guards. They had planned everything. Socrates refused again. Breaking the law, he believed, would destroy the very principles he taught. If he escaped, his entire life would become a lie. The final moments. On his final day, Socrates calmly spoke with his students. No panic, no fear, no regret. When the time came, he drank the poison without hesitation. As his body weakened, he continued speaking, teaching, until his final breath. His last lesson wasn't spoken. It was lived. Why Socrates still matters. Today, Socrates left us no books, but he left us something greater. Question your beliefs. Challenge certainty. Seek truth, not approval. Value integrity over comfort. In a loud world, he reminds us, silence can be wise. In a confident world, he reminds us, humility is strength. Closing reflection. Socrates knew he would die, but he also knew this: a life without truth is already a kind of death. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is admit you don't know everything.